Hey, everybody. Hope you guys are ready to rock and roll today. Hope you guys are listening to this in the morning. You guys should be listening to one of these in the morning. And hopefully they're good motivation. I'm just trying to pour out things that is on my mind for the day. Sometimes I record 2 or 3 days at a time. Sometimes it's a few days between. But things that are important to me, that are inspiring me. And today I want to talk about having a massive mind shift. And that is thinking big. Thinking on a way bigger level than you are. So you're sitting here to talk about in your business or your dreams and goals and things that you think you're capable of. It's really easy to get caught up in a mediocrity of everyday life, right? You're surrounded by mediocrity, and nothing wrong with people that are just living everyday lives. Like, you know, most of our family members are just average people that are getting up every day, working a job and doing their thing. You may be in the same boat, but it's time to start thinking big. Remember when you were a kid, you started dreaming about things, and most kids did. I'm going to be a fireman. I remember one of my sons was 5 years old. I said, what are you going to be when you grow up? He goes, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be an army cook, a cook in the army. I'm going to be a ninja. I'm going to be a Power Ranger. And he came up with a rock star and all these awesome things. And see, when you're young, it's easy to and you don't think about, oh, no, you're not capable of those things. We haven't gotten that stuff. The world hasn't beaten us down. We haven't listened to people say, you can't do that. We haven't tried and failed yet. You understand? So when you're young, you just have these dreams of massiveness. Nothing can stop us. I just dream it and I can do it. And you have full confidence that you can pull it off. But what happens? Life happens. You know, the first time you're a young kid, I'm going to go up someday to be a billionaire. And then somebody laughs at you. Or your parents say, get real. That's probably not going to happen. You're not capable of doing that. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not fast enough. You're not whatever enough, you know? And we get beat down. And we get beat down. And we get beat down. It's kind of like the elephant you see in the picture where you tie an elephant to a stake around his ankle. At first, he's yanking on that stake. You got to beat that thing to the ground hard because he's strong and he wants to roam. But eventually, he starts to realize that this is his barrier. And eventually, you can tie a little string to him with a pin and he just won't go past it. Why? Even though he could walk that pin out so easily, barely even touch it, he's got this mental barrier. The same thing with the fleas in the box. Have you ever heard that story? We put fleas into a box, and they're jumping, trying to get out, jumping, trying to get. Eventually, they stop getting out, and eventually, you take the lid off, and they don't jump out because they don't believe they can. It is real scientific proof, folks, and we do the same things to ourselves. Don't get caught up in that. We're all caught up into that some level, right? We all got these glass ceilings, these mental barriers that we have to break past. So as a kid, you hear stories like, man, I'm going to have 10 mansions someday with 10 swimming pools so I can have all my friends live and I can have 50 Ferraris and Lamborghinis. You know what? That's dreaming big, man. There's nothing wrong with dreaming big. So on a side note, don't ever tell your kid you can't. Don't ever tell anybody you can't. Always encourage people to dream. So I want to talk about dreaming big today. And a few years ago, I was overseas with a mentor of mine who was almost a billionaire. And just got to meet with this guy. I paid a lot of money to be able to meet with him for a couple of days because I wanted my glass ceilings pushed. And I was showing him, listen, I'm trying to build this company. I'm trying to build a whole bunch of these little $1 million a year businesses. And then my goal is to have a team run them and all this kind of stuff. He goes, man, you're thinking too small. You got to be thinking $100 million a year businesses. He goes, man, the biggest thing you're going to run into is your mindset. The biggest struggle you're going to get to getting to the next level is your mindset. And a lot of it is thinking big. So we started mapping out some things in my business and realizing, my gosh, I could totally build one of these businesses to $100 million. Right? I was thinking way too small. So I want you to start thinking big. This is one of the most important habits we talked about earlier, is writing down your goals. Don't get caught up in, well, I'd like to make, if you're making $50,000 a year, well, I'd like to make $100,000 a year. And if you're driving a Honda, well, I'd like to upgrade to a little bit more. You know, if you're living in a $100,000 house, I'd like a $150,000 house. That's good, decent. But I want you to start dreaming like a kid again. Think about that childlikeness, just the world and its possibilities. Right? This is an exercise that'll push your mindset. If you want to grow, if you want to break the glass ceiling and push yourself to the next level, you've got to start dreaming at a higher level like a kid again. You've got to start breaking down all the barriers. Like anytime anybody in your life has told you you can't, or you shouldn't, or you're not smart enough, or you're not capable enough, You're not born into the right family. You're not never going to be rich enough. You don't have what it takes. Sometimes people have said that, or sometimes if you've tried and failed. Let me let you on a little clue, guys. Failure is a gift. Failure is the opportunity to learn. Stop thinking about failure as failure. Think about as failures as one step to figuring out what didn't work so you can find out what did. You know, Thomas Edison, perfect example. How many times did I have to do a light bulb? It wasn't at 10,000 times. My God, I don't know about you, but I would have given up before I hit 50 times. I would have said, okay, this is stupid. It ain't going to work. 10,000 times? He changed the whole damn world. The whole world. What would we do without electricity? And the light bulb. I mean, my God, the power of that is just freaking phenomenal. And then, of course, we can argue about whether it was him or Tesla, but I'm not going to get into that. But anyway. So start talking about dreaming big again, right? So let's think about this. When you get out of bed in the morning, I want you to have a legal pad, some type of notepad. I use the yellow legal pad. I have a pen sitting on it. It's flipped to the right page, and I'm ready to rock and roll. And here's what I do. As soon as I get out of bed, you guys heard my morning routine, right? The first thing I do, it's either my goals or gratitude. It depends on where I'm feeling. But usually it's my goals because I get excited. This is not to think about it. This is not to think, well, no. You're not capable of that. No. That's too big of a goal. This is just writing and dreaming. You imagine yourself being this excited kid that the world is filled with possibility. Right? So your goal is just to write everything that comes out of your head. I live in a 52,000 square foot house. I've got 1 million apartment complexes. I'm worth $10 billion. I don't really care. So for me, you know, I've got a couple cars I would like to have, even though financially I have a game plan of attack that I would never buy those. We'll talk about that in another one. I would never buy liabilities. I am right now in part of my life, I am only focused on building assets. Even the big homes, I had all the big homes. I had a 10,000 square foot house, a 13,000 square foot house. In the last 12 months, I got rid of both. I had a $200,000 car, a whole bunch of other toys, got rid of everything. Because all it comes with huge monthly payments and depreciating garbage, right? Except for the houses, but still the expenses to keep a house like that running, 10,000 square foot house with the elevator and an Olympic-sized pool, just to pay the pool people every month was ridiculous. That's money that's not going into building wealth. That's money going into trying to impress the neighbors that I didn't even know their last names. So my goals are different. My goals are all about building assets. But I do have some toy goals, right? We'll talk about that in a different episode. But the number one thing is to get your creativity flowing and your dream big muscles going. So for me, I own 1,000 apartment units worth over $1 million. These are my dream big goals, right? I want a black G63. I want a green Lamborghini Huracan Performante. I talk about my kids think I'm a rock star. Like I'm thinking about relationship wise. But when I'm doing it, I'm writing it down and smiling. Like I'm feeling it when I'm doing it. What would it be like with my kids? My kids think I'm pretty cool, but I want more depth with my kids, right? With my kids. And I also, my relationship, you know, I'm married to a happy, bright-eyed, life is filled with possibilities type of gal who's inspiring, and just being around her. You know, I've got all these things I write down. I'm an international speaker. I'm a best-selling author of multiple books. I speak on stage and touch the lives of thousands and thousands of people. And when I do that, I visualize myself powerful on stage, pouring my heart out, and people crying and hearts being changed and moved and being encouraged. Right? So when I write, this is a 2 to 3 minute exercise that 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes of your day that you need to do. Put this into your daily habits. You do this before you go to bed, at least. You do this at least. First thing you do when you get out of bed. Feet don't touch the floor until you do this. I usually sit on my bed, laying on my stomach, like a kid. Just woohoo! I get to write my goals. This is fun. Here we go. And I get myself excited, and I let myself be excited. It doesn't matter how I get out of bed in the morning, by the way. It matters how I want to get up. So I choose to be childlike, to be excited, to think about the possibilities. And every time I write a goal, I see myself doing it. I got my black G63. Oh, man. An AMG, 560 horsepower. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? I love the way those things feel. It was badass, right? What would it be like to have 1,000 apartment units worth over $100 million? My gosh, all that passive income and wealth building that I'm doing for my family, and the money coming out of that I'm putting into charity and touching lives and all that kind of stuff. So when I'm going through that, I don't just write it, I feel it. But this is not a time to think about how can I do it. If you're sitting there in a 600 square foot apartment and you're trying to think about how to get a 16,000 square foot house, don't think about it. That is too daunting. That's where all the bullshit's going to come in. All of the stuff that you've worked on that's screwed up your mind to get you here while you're still in a 600 square foot apartment is going to just screw that up. Don't think about that. This exercise is nothing about that. This is about nothing but pouring out heavy dreams. Think about big stuff. You want to write books? Do you want to be a public speaker? How do you want to be fitness wise? I mean, you're 180 pounds, 6 foot. For me, that's 6 foot, 180 pounds, fit, higher energy than an 18-year-old. You know, I've got all these things, right? How I look, how I feel, my impact in the world. You know, I'm raising $100 million a year for charity. Those kinds of things, big goals. I wouldn't even know where to begin to do that kind of thing. It doesn't matter. It's about thinking on a massive scale, thinking big. So I want you to start doing this exercise every day. Start thinking big. Number one, let's look at what areas in your life have you been knocked down, either by other people or by yourself. It's allowing your own failures to convince you that, see, you don't got it what it takes. Right? Go back to the success stacks on top of success. To get success, beget success. Sorry, I'm still winded. Go stack back on top of that. Go back into that video and listen to that again. But you've got to start thinking big at a high level. So what areas of your life have you held yourself back and you're going to tell yourself, no more, I'm done. Shut all those things down and then realize you are capable of accomplishing anything you want. So I want you to start getting up in the morning, thinking big, and just write so fast. You can't even read my writing when I do it. I'm writing so fast. It's mostly what's coming out of my head. The pen's just as fast as possible. Most of the time I can't even read it. It looks awful. This doesn't matter. I'm not going to go back and reread it. I don't stop and think about it. I read it. I write. I'm just pouring out stuff. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to own a Gulfstream G500, which is a $50 million jet. Doesn't mean I'm ever actually going to own one, but man, that would be freaking cool, wouldn't it? So it's just about dreaming again. So at least do this in the morning when you get up first thing in the morning. And do this when you go to bed, because when you go to bed thinking at a big scale, you tend to, when you're asleep, your mind's moving at a big scale. How do you go to bed? How you're going to wake up, and how you wake up is how you're going to show up. So it's important for you to wake up thinking big, and it's important to go to bed thinking big. But you may need to do this several times in a day, and I would highly suggest it. When you get to a point to where you've got a lull, and you feel like, oh God, I'm just getting frustrated, or you're just feeling beat, or maybe you had a bad phone call, or you were just on a text support call that you expected to be 5 minutes, you were on for 5 hours, wasted half your day, and you're feeling frustrated, whatever. Go back to your list, scratch the next line, and just write again. Do your exercise all over again. Do it all over again. At least twice a day, though, when you get up in the morning and before you go to bed. But if you want to do it 2 or 3 more times during the day, I'm telling you, you're only spending a minute, 2 minutes at a time. 3 minutes max, and you're done. It's just about getting the juices flowing, thinking big level, thinking big scale. Looking at your business like, wow, I can make $10,000 a month. And what if you could start thinking about, I'm going to make $1 million a month, and just start feeling it? What would it be like in that moment when you're writing it, what would it be like to make $1 million a month? Because for you to manifest that in the outer world, like you actually achieving those type of things, it doesn't just happen by you doing certain things. It starts with you being that person. So we've got to get the inner world cranked up to a high level before it's ever going to happen in the outer world. So go get them, folks. Dream big. Go back to feeling like a child, that anything is possible. Go get them.